Okay, hi everybody. Welcome to Escape Trailer Talk number 7, and we're joined today by Treat and Deb over there in Ontario, Canada. So, hi everybody. Hi guys.
Hello.
Hello.
It's good to see you again. And of course, for anyone who's joining us who was in the rally or has watched the rally videos that we've done, Treat was very, very gracious in lending us support with the tech talk work that we did on the rally. So I would encourage anyone to go back and have a look at the rally video that we did, or the rally short clips that Harrison has put together, and it'll have Treat's modifications in there. But we're still going to talk about it in here. But Treat, you have a fairly unique experience with respect to purchasing your trailer, and I like that we're doing this because you're the first person I believe we've met in Trailer Talk series who's purchased a pre-owned Escape, and then went and did some mods on it. So if you wouldn't mind, why do you have the floor? Tell us about your experience. How you found Escape? How you found Escape? Why Escape? And all that type of stuff.
Well, how we found Escape, we had a hybrid, a 19-foot kind of conventional trailer with fold-out berths, which was fine. But our son is in Vancouver. Mm-hmm. And got married just before Christmas, and we, like anybody else, because of the pandemic, we haven't seen them. And as I say, everybody's got a story about family or important relations they couldn't see. So we said, well, we're not getting on a plane this summer. The thing's still not over, so we're going to take our trailer out and see them. But it took about an hour to set up and an hour to break down.
And it wasn't a trailer that was going to go across Canada.
Yeah, it wouldn't have made it.
Right.
I wasn't going to go across Canada. Clarify that.
So we started researching, and my kind of research requirement was trailer, no slide outs, because from an engineering standpoint, taking a box structure and cutting half of it out makes it real twisty, and they're twisty to begin with. And so we happened on Escape. It was Canadian. There were no slide outs, and they were really nice.
Yeah.
You do fiberglass.
And here's the tie from sailing. Decades in fiberglass boats. So it's a material that I know, is reliable, is robust, and it's something I understand well. So we put in, like lots of other folks, we sent the $2,500 check and sat there saying, oh, it's going to be like a year and a half or whatever it was. It was a long time. I don't remember exactly what it was. And then Deb had insomnia one night. And what'd you do?
Well, I sort of, have my sites I go to. And so I went to the pre-owned site, and there was something in Kingston, which is like 60 miles from us. And we had decided this, by this time you had said that you were going to be auctioning off inventory trailers, as it were. And we had decided that we would look at 3 different models, the NE, the 21C, or the 5.0, and we had sort of outlined what we would consider for each one. And so when I saw this in the pre-owned, and it was in Kingston, and it was on our list, and it had not everything we wanted, but a lot of things, and all we could retrofit except for 2 things, and the things that we didn't want didn't really matter. So I waited till I think six to wake you up.
This was going on like in the week. So with a piece of context, it was listed the night before. Right. I think probably you had put it on your site at end of day your time.
Yeah.
So maybe 8 p.m. our time, and
And we put in the email, but
we talked it over for a while. So I'm in the bedroom sleeping. Deb says, you gotta get up. Look at what I found. And we discussed it, and of course tested it against our criteria and said, yeah, this is really good. Yeah. And we wrote an email and said, we'd love to, it looks really nice. We'd like it. Please and thank you. And the seller, it turns out, was overwhelmed by responses. The Escape staff had screened all the American responses out because you couldn't cross the border. So why inundate a seller with offers or interest from people who can't, for whom it's impossible? And did she say she had 24 emails asking about it? And it took her a couple of days to get back to us because of personal circumstances. And when she did, she said, "I'm so sorry. You were number 2 in line. So the other people must have been up real late because somebody was in number 1, first responded ahead of us."
Wow.
And so we said, "Oh, okay, we're adults. Okay, we can deal with disappointment. Thank you so much.
But if they
bail, give us a call."
Yeah.
And 2 days later, we get a message. "Oh, I'm so sorry. Are you still interested?" The people who were interested thought this was going to be a first RV for them. And apparently they were of an age where kind of mobility was a concern. And they realized in hindsight that they thought it was kind of a rash step on their part.
Right.
So we said, she said, "Are you still interested?" And my response was, "Do bears poop in the woods?" Yes, of course we're interested. And we said, "We'll take it. And we'll send you a money transfer sight unseen." I think it was $1,000 to secure it. Now, if we had gotten there and looked at it and it turned out to be a lemon, we probably would have lost the $1,000, but from the photos, the chances of that were slim and none. And it was an acceptable risk.
And it had been used not that heavily.
The main thing it had been used for is drawing back from Chilliwack to Kingston, Ontario.
Wow.
So we went and saw it. It was great. We wrote a check for the rest of the amount. A couple of things, sellers differ, and your results may vary. But she had a lot, apparently, she told us, very assertive emails that were further down the line from us. "Oh, we'll give you a lot more money than anyone else, and pick me, pick me." It may also be a purely Canadian failing. But she said they were trying to jump the line. No bloody way. She thought, "I'm not impressed." So now another seller might have reacted differently and said, "More money. Okay, over to you." But in this case, she was scrupulous about kind of first applying a principle, first come, first serve. So that's how we got it.
Yeah.
It was. Yeah, it's a lesson. If you're looking for a used Escape, people say on the Facebook page, "Oh, they go in days, they go in hours." Potentially, from a planning standpoint, in planning your response, it's like a single family home listed in Vancouver for $500,000. How long is it going to sit? Maybe you could wait a couple of days, but don't count on it.
The realtor will buy it and flip it.
Yeah.
So, Treat and Deb, I have a question. Tell us a little bit about the trailer itself, maybe the age and, how it held up and things like that.
Okay. Well, it's 2019, and it looks like virtually like it had not been
driven off the lot.
Driven off, yeah. There was virtually not a mark on it. There was a couple of little pieces of tar spots inside, and I don't know how on earth he got those on it, but they came off. And that was literally the only marks on it that looked like it had been used. You couldn't even really see where it had been. You look for stuff that had been driven, where it had been driven. I'd say that the worst thing, it looked like he'd had a couple of boilovers on the stove, and that.
If that's as bad as it gets.
That was literally the only thing that you could tell where there's been any use.
It's a 5.0. It had what was then the solar package. So it was 170 watts of solar power. with a charge controller, no inverter, and let me think what else. It sort of a loaded trailer, pretty loaded. It had the lift kit. It didn't have an oven. Two burner cooktop. Dometic air conditioning, lucky us. And you don't have to say anything.
Dometic air conditioners, though. We'd had them before in 2 trailers.
And let's put it this way. This one's quiet compared to the last one.
Serious.
So, hey, but it works. It cools down. Microwave, furnace, obviously. It had kind of the then enhanced battery package, 2 6-volt golf cart batteries. So, and I think that
it had the television.
Oh, had you mount a television mount. We don't watch we don't have a television antenna cable. We don't. If it's worth watching, it's on YouTube. So having an over the airwaves antenna and television, that was the first to go, sort of.
Yeah.
What else did we?
Mostly we added things rather than took things out.
Oh, it had
foam. The bottom was foamed.
Oh, the spray foam underneath. The polyurethane.
It had the lift kit.
Yep, and the alloy wheels. The foam was something very interesting to us. We understand, with all the disclaimers, it's a 3-season trailer, not a 4-season trailer. We're not at a point in life where we'd be interested in the 4th season anyway. But when we had a sailboat, our instructions to the yard were launch as soon as the ice goes out. So we were keen enough that we were usually first in the water and last out of the water.
Right.
Yeah, snow on the decks.
And so we'll use it early in the season and late in the season where the insulation is actually a lot. There's a lot of value.
The one thing that we didn't get with the trailer that we can't retrofit that we would have liked is the heating pads under the tanks.
Yeah.
And that we would have liked.
If it was new and we were electing for options, we would have had that in. To be honest, the other thing, I mean, it doesn't affect our enjoyment at all. The manual awning had more flexibility for our purposes because it's better at shedding rain. It's just physically more robust. We understand that it cramps your style in other regards. So but when you buy something off the lot or from somebody else, in this case, you've just got to go with the package. You don't get to pick and choose. So
this one came with a power awning. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
With the power awning.
We can still put it out to the length of the door, and we don't have we have the normal windows, not the
windows rather than the frame.
So as long as you can put it out the length of the door, the awning, the rain won't come in the door and it won't come in any of the windows except the one on the settee. So that one you can't open.
We use it as a portico rather than a living space, just because of the nature of the beast.
Yeah.
So it's fine that way.
So overall, on a 1 to 10 scale, if you had to rate, this is not rehearsed. I'm going to be as surprised as you are. If you had to rate your satisfaction,
you go first. Because I'll be honest.
9, because I don't give 10s.
Okay, and just because I won't match you ever, I'm going to say 8.5 because I would have preferred to have an oven. We never had a boat, our first boat didn't have an oven, and both of our trailers didn't have an oven, and I like an oven. So
so you've made some modifications, but you haven't made a modification for an oven yet.
We will. It was on our our foodies, I guess, right, you would say, and get a lot of pleasure in cooking and spend a lot of time cooking. And it's fun to do. We find it fun to do when we're away and kind of in the middle of nowhere. But because it'll require the cabinetry to come out and be rebuilt, it wasn't
like it would. When we measured and looked at things, it looked like the cabinetry was a different design,
particularly the drawers.
The drawers.
Yeah.
And so that was, we had other things to do. That wasn't a year one project.
Yeah.
But it's still on the list. And we, in our boats, they came with stock stoves, and we weren't using Dickinson then. We were using Forest 10 just down the street.
Yeah.
And so if we put a stove in this will be the third installation I've done. So it's not it's work, but it's not a big freak out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that will come. If we have this discussion a year from now, we'll show you the stove installation.
Yeah. Although I want to look at because I do want to look at the combined microwave convection oven, just to see, because it looks, now that we have the lithium batteries and etc. To see what we have a convection oven at home, which I really like. So I want to see what the convection oven does, because the gas oven is not, it's got an oven space like this.
24.5 inches or so.
So
the temperature uniformity, even on the best ones.
You can get a pizza oven plate does solve that a bit, but again, you've got 4 inches. So I do want to see what that looks like.
I'm a skeptic. But
it does look like that does also require a cabinetry change. So we're stuck with the cabinetry change.
One way or another, by this time next year, we'll have a baking solution. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, well, I know David Hendrickson did his, but I think he was okay on the cabinetry side. So I posted some pictures on Facebook of shelves that I did we've got a Ford F-150 with a short bed. Mm-hmm. And the trailer is very organized. The truck bed was a jumble of junk, and neither of us is into jumbles of junk. So I built some shelves that allow us to organize things. And I build things that are very strong and butt ugly. And somebody else industrially functional.
That's a nice way to put it.
Yes. So somebody else posted, and they had drawers that they'd built, and they were a cabinet maker.
Right.
Or at least they could be if they wanted to be. I am not a cabinet maker. I'll make it strong, but Deb won't have it. So we're actually gonna go to a cabinet maker to do it for us.
I have a bed at home that we have in the spare room, because we don't have that many people coming to visit us much of anything. And of course I made it out of plywood. Sharon hates it. She thinks it's terrible. You can't even see it. It's covered over with sheets, but she just knows it's there. And the fact that it's a plywood, it's an industrially functional bed. It's very strong. It's not going anywhere. And it's got lots of storage inside it and all this type of stuff. She just, it's just constant. I will never buy a bed for there. Well, Sharon will, I'm sure, but we'll leave it at that.
Deb ruled out plywood cabinetry, unfaced, sort of one side good.
Yeah.
Not acceptable.
So Deb, are you also...
Another story about that, but we'll go into it sometime when we see you in person about what Treat built on spec. It was supposed to last a month. It lasted 6 years in a very visible spot.
It wasn't a treat at all.
No. It was the bane of her existence. So the...
We've only had one thing fail.
And that was?
The solar panel.
Oh, yes. Not your fault. Incidentally, if I were you, I'd be taking ulcer medicine, because you design you build the fiberglass shell and you assemble, and the experience of quality of the user frequently depends on your suppliers. And nobody in the RV supply chain has heard of Six Sigma. Nobody. Anyway, so when we got the trailer, it wasn't charging. So I, got the ladder, went up on the roof, and got my multimeter out, my meter, and it was the panels were putting out like 10 volts instead of 15 or 20, and it was Go Power panels that you'd installed, and I emailed them, and I also took pictures of what I was doing, so they knew I wasn't just making stuff up.
Yeah.
And the guy said there was no pushback, like, and if you check this and if you check that. He said, it's obviously a panel problem. We'll provide you new ones at no expense, and you don't have to return the old ones. And 3 days later, I mean, when you order a knife from Amazon, you expect it to get there fast. A solar panel, I thought this is going to come on a truck and it's going to be forever. It was there 3 days later. It was amazing. But I mean, it was the same holes, the same mounts. It was a drop in. So it at the end of the day, it wasn't a big deal. But that's not about escape. That's about the reliability of solar panels.
And stuff happens too, right, in the manufacture of these things. But he's that's Doug over there at Go Power, and he's been excellent with us. Excellent in terms of customer service and support. It's been excellent. I mean, a trailer. I mean, my slogan when we were talking, or characterization of stick-built trailers, was "Born to Die." Because my undergrad was in liberal arts, my graduate degree's in engineering, and I'm kind of a wonky guy. And as I say, bumping down the road, the G-forces, I mean, trailers really get abused. Yeah, they do.
And I note on Facebook, one of the things that's happening, I mean, big surprise, a lot of people, COVID-19, are getting into RVing who are new, and are sometimes surprised by the level of things that go wrong just as a matter of course. Yeah. If you sail, it's no surprise.
Right.
I always had toolbox and replacements, and the wind's strong and the waves bash you around and something always falls off, or the electrics, go south. And so I think for us, the fact that there are occasional things to be connected or troubleshot, looked into, we just took that as a matter of course. It's, just a matter of routine for something that's getting bashed around like a sailboat or an RV for that matter.
Yeah, when I think about it, it's pretty much only people on motorcycles or bicycles, and I think motorcycles more so than bicycles, who can appreciate the power of the wind when you're driving along, and how much effect it actually has on the body of the trailer itself.
Now, so here's an interesting point of feedback. With our previous trailer, 19-foot, we used a weight distributing hitch, and we're careful about tongue weights and, try and do it right. But on a narrow 100-kilometer, 60-mile-an-hour highway in the countryside, 2-lane, where when you go past one another, there's maybe 1.5 feet between you, and you're each going 100 clicks, 60 miles an hour, you'd get buffeted. With the fifth wheel, there's nothing. You could rip right by a big high slab truck, and there's no momentary, no nothing. If your eyes were closed, presumably they're not. If your eyes were closed, you'd never know.
Wow.
So from the experience of towing, we're really careful, and it really tows like it's not there.
Well, the fifth wheel is so nice, right? When you think about the hitch placement, and the moment it kind of has on the vehicle, sort of from the trailer, you're just that much further up, right? So it's far less opportunity for it to get into any sort of harmonic or even feel the effects of that.
The one thing that we're quite conscious of, that where there are a lot of similarities between cruising sailing, and an RV. One of the differences is we're not routinely seasick, nor are we periodically terrified, nor wet and cold.
No, you see, you never told me that you were terrified.
There were moments. Deb
Terrified after the fact.
Deb would go to the leeward, in other words, the downwind rail periodically, and come back smiling and say, "The pause that refreshes." No, you don't have to barf out.
Heavy weather sailors.
You don't have to barf out the window with well, I mean, you could if you wanted to, but there's no need to barf out the window. But another important difference between sailing, certainly, and an RV is about as you add weight. On a sailboat, if you add things that are beyond the design weight, as long as you put them down low, the boat settles a little lower in the water and it's more stable. It's less inclined to heel over. It's a little slower too.
Yeah.
But it's not what you say, not a big downside, where an RV is more like an airplane. You've got, if you follow the rules around loads, combined vehicle weight and tongue weights and all the rest, and anything you put on takes away from the remaining payload. So, for example, I don't know, I wouldn't have, if we were buying new now, I wouldn't reinforce the walls, because rather than having the weight of the plywood, I'd rather have something useful. Well, something more useful to me. But it's similar to a private plane. You don't just throw stuff in the back seat ad infinitum and hope that it can take off. There's constant trade-offs. And sort of given who we are, Deb has a spreadsheet where everything that we put on gets weighed, and we can kind of look at the value of, do trade-offs. Would we rather have the 20-pound extension ladder, or should we carry a cast iron griddle? And you have to get down, if you're going to stay within the weight limits, you have to get down to that kind of decision making. You just can't shovel it in there.
Yeah, there's an extra layer or an extra few layers of responsibility on you when you're RVing, on everybody. You can't just pick up the house, throw it in the trailer, and off we go. Between that and your power consumption and your propane and your water, your black tanks and the other ones, then it's you have to be cognizant of all this stuff. Right? I think it's good. I mean, it makes you more aware of what's going on in the present around you.
So I guess it's back to my point. Getting an RV is not like buying a new Ford, where they're produced in the gazillions. They've been engineered up the kazoo.
Yeah.
They've been quality engineering. I started out my consulting career, what today would be called Six Sigma, but in quality management. And, the Ford maximum allowable defect rates are in 3 or 4 parts per million. The RV business, that's just not true of the RV business.
No, true.
It's
just it's a different level. It's a different level of expectation, and people who have had RVs before have kind of got that. But we still see 50% people who are brand new to RVing.
Yeah,
that come to escape. So a lot of times we have the expectations are what goes into your home or what's gone into the vehicle. That's usually the biggest one. And I'm like, oh man, I've been in the automotive world. I mean, I grew up in the automotive world. It's my formative part of my career. I know what the difference is between the two. It's hard for me to explain to you that, to be able to say expectations are need to be very different between them. But it's still, I love them. I still think it's a beautifully built and constructed unit, especially when I go and look at the other RVs that are out there. I'm like, okay, well, if you take all RVs, we're kind of way up, and you go to the mass-produced stick-builts, we're way down. I mean, sort of the a good marker is there. I mean, the reports keep coming out, and it just keeps getting higher and higher. But this year is going to be 400,000 bumper poles, not including fifth wheels, and so just bumper poles in the US, sold in the US, and with that, I mean, we're less than 1,000 this year, and put all the fiberglass types together.
I did the numbers based on something you said on one of the videotapes, that last year you were producing under 500, excluding the 5.0s. Presuming the 5.0s, you're not producing 500 of them. So round numbers, order of magnitude, before you tried to scale up, it sounded like you were doing about 500 units a year,
Yeah.
which is about 1/10% market share.
Yeah, it's
So that's what I call a niche player. So,
yeah, it's absolutely niche. Yeah.
so one of the things that we had visited, I neglected to say when you asked about how we came to buy an Escape, we took advantage of the ambassador program
Brilliant.
before we actually plunked our money down.
Excellent.
And it was very helpful. The people were great. The guy was great. It was snow up to here. It was parked in a lot. Fortunately, we both had 4-wheel drive trucks. We were able to get in, freezing cold, and he was a great host. And I went to look for things to measure quality. I went to look for things that were not readily visible. Look behind the drywall.
Yeah. Get into the structure. Yeah.
And,
like things.
Well, if you have high standards on the things that people can't see, that speaks to the overall philosophy and the overall build standards.
Yeah.
So the wiring harnesses, I'm a ham radio operator, among other geeky things. And so I looked right away at the wiring, which was pristine. It was just bundled with ties at regular intervals, and literally just in a different world from our previous RV, where it's sort of higgledy-piggledy, where you couldn't see it when you opened the cabinetry. The other place where I noticed it on the 5.0, if you open the steps on the 5.0, we didn't preview a 5.0, but when we got ours, I opened the steps, and the steps are on a piano hinge, or at least they were in 2019.
Yeah.
There's a lot of cheaper ways to hinge something than to use a piano hinge. And the fasteners are stainless machine screws, flathead machine screws, which are backed up on the other side with a washer. A lot of people wouldn't put a washer, and an elastic stop nut, an aircraft style nut that won't come off. But I've never seen this before. When you put one of those nuts on, there's usually a bit of thread sticking out unless you get it exactly right. In every case, the remaining thread has been cut off with a Dremel or equivalent. So there's nothing to catch yourself on. And I mean, I didn't see that in the brochure. Nobody needed to do that to sell a trailer.
Yeah.
So that speaks to me. That speaks to me about ambitions and standards. Now things go wrong in manufacturing, but that speaks to me the hopes that you're trying to pursue. Yeah,
a general level that we hold, it's just the base level we hold ourselves to. It's a generally a higher level. Excellent. Well, no, that's good. I'm glad you did that.
Yeah.
I hope you still do it. Yeah, you better.
Background.
Yeah, whoever is watching this and considering a 5.0, you better get those stainless machine screws.
Well, they're still there. We delivered a trailer this morning that I was reviewing before the customer came in, and same thing. It's the stainless. Still, it's a stainless hinges or a piano hinge on there. Actually, that was a beautiful trailer.
Yeah,
beautiful trailer. And that was a fifth wheel, obviously, as well. You had a question for Deb.
I was more curious about the towing, and you kind of covered that a little bit, the two of you. Like, how does it tow? Are you both driving it? Any experience? Maybe any tips for new fifth wheel owners?
I am not yet driving it. I need a big parking lot. But I'm pleased with how it. It tows.
It does tow beautifully. The fifth wheel is you hardly know it's there. It's a lovely tow. Did you go Anderson hitch or one of the other?
It came with the Anderson rail mount.
Yeah. And I am pleased with how much, aside from as long as you don't go over the weight you can carry, at how much you can get in the bed of the truck with the Anderson hitch.
Yes.
Yeah, it's quite remarkable. Yeah. It doesn't interfere. The movement of the gooseneck and the hitch doesn't interfere with your storage a lot if you're orderly about it.
Yeah, if we could put more weight in there, we could get a lot more in.
And you don't get the shunting. You get the shunting on the Anderson that you get in some of the other So the sliding hitches, that's shunting. So that every time you come to you're like, you're coming to a stop and you're putting on the brake and you're waiting for it and then bang, it hits you.
Back to your question about Deb driving, to put it in context, before we met, she had an F-350 Super Duty.
Yeah.
And,
I came from the prairies.
Okay.
and she's 5 foot tall on a humid day, but you get a lot of respect. Doesn't matter how tall you are, when you're driving an F-350, you get respect.
Yeah, but I must say that one of the things I like about the Ford trucks now is that, the window, the way it swoops down, it's so much easier to see out than than others.
Is great.
It's so much easier to see just out than the other trucks.
Was this your first fifth wheel Treat?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's all that bit's all entirely new. Thank goodness for YouTube videos.
That's for sure. Yeah, definitely.
We were talking earlier about the fact that you had a deposit in for a trailer. So I thought maybe it would be interesting to see kind of how you got out of that and if it was a smooth experience or how did you go out?
After the lawyers called, it went real fast. No, sorry.
Yeah.
I'm jerking your chain. We put in an email, said, sorry, we've bought a used trailer. We'd like our deposit back, less the administrative fee, of course. And did we get it in 2 days? 2 or 3 days. It was in the bank account. There was no are you sure? And can we make you a special offer that would change your mind? There was no fuss, no muss. It was completely cordial and straightforward.
Yeah, we don't start off with the hard sell and we don't end with the hard sell either.
No, it was, if somebody's thinking, I want to put my money down, but what if I change my mind? Are they going to hold on to it or give me the gears? It's not like buying a timeshare, at some ski resort and trying to back out of it.
We what we've noticed, and we put a process in place. It must have been after you guys did your cancellation, but we put a process in place where Samuel and I were both looking at this, and I said, you know what, we should make it as easy for someone to cancel the trailer as it is to purchase the trailer. Why not? My biggest gripe is trying to go cancel something and it being the most arduous process in the world to try and get something canceled. I'm like, no, I give you much more respect if you just show me that I can go and cancel this thing like this tomorrow. Yeah. You get my respect, and you may have me as a customer long term.
Well, in terms of the what goes around comes around. You give somebody the gears about returning a deposit, and 3 weeks later they're sitting having a beer with a friend or a margarita, and they say, "Oh, how did it go?" And you said it was miserable. That doesn't enhance the brand reputation.
No, not at all. Not at all. Yeah. It makes it. We actually get so many people because they're optional, but they'll put comments in as they're canceling their trailer. And there've been a lot of people who've cancelled more recently, just because circumstances have changed. I mean, they felt like they jumped the gun, or for the most part, it's because they bought themselves a pre-owned Escape. There seems to be a lot of them, which is great for other people because they get shifted further up the process in terms of their traveling. Yeah, but a lot of the time it's people circumstances in their lives have changed or whatever it might be. We love Escape. We know if we get the opportunity in the future, we will 100% be back. And for me, it's all about that. It's the long game. It's the idea that once you're into an Escape, you're in an Escape. Yeah. From there on in, probably, and I know obviously things change and whatever, but that's the idea.
It reminds me, we haven't put it in our wills yet, so. Actually,
it automatically comes back to me.
It's a substantial asset. We, the lawyer would probably say you should.
That's a good idea. Get on with that.
And I do think we see customers cancel because the lead time is long, and that's, we feel that's fair enough. At the same time, sometimes I wonder if it's premature because we do those date revisions. Yeah. And then it hurts me a little bit to see somebody, it's too long, and then we do a date revision where we pull back customers about half a year.
I've had a few that I've called and said, hey, listen, I know you put the cancellation in, we're just about the process of it all. I'll just give you a quick call, let you know we're going to be issuing new dates. Yeah. We're probably going to move this much. Before, I have no problem processing it, but I'd hate you to process.
Are you sure?
Come back immediately, and we've had a few people who have come back.
We had I know two for sure who placed the deposit again just to be back.
Yeah.
So glad to see that went well for you. And I agree with Karl. We put that on the website. We thought it's a little strange because we put it right onto get started, cancel your deposit. But we felt that's the right place to do it. It's transparent.
Well, actually, it boosts the likelihood that you're going to get a sales commitment. Commitment behavior, getting started, how to get a sale, get started, get people doing something down the path. And that takes away a barrier. What happens to, you could imagine sitting there behind your computer. They look like good guys, but I wonder what happens when you give them a check. Well, if you remove that barrier, it encourages people to build a relationship.
Yes.
So,
well, but that's also where the likes of yourselves are really important, and all our ambassadors, because you give the unabridged objective view, or the objective benefit of your experience with everything. So
I have a question for you. I don't know if Harrison will edit it out, but depending on the answer, but I think not. Now, I'm not a shareholder in Escape, but I'm a stakeholder.
Yes.
Because if you go in the ditch, then I can't get follow-up customer service. Or if your reputation is impaired, the value of our investment goes downhill. Yes. And also there's sort of a non-tangible but real thing. I want to own something nice. And if if the people who made it are scoundrels, well, I don't feel so good about my purchase. So bottom line, I want to see Escape succeed, at many, many, many levels, to protect our investment and for all the other reasons. It must be very challenging. The number of options you have is staggering, that you can offer as many options as you do and still be economical. And I wondered if in the future, when you were doing the inventory trailers, if you're going to move in the direction of the automotive manufacturers, where they've got a gazillion options, but you don't get to cherry pick one at a time. They bundle. Now, obviously, it's to their advantage. You want the heated seat, and you got to take the extra rims and the leather steering wheel, and it's $4,000, by the time you get the seat you want. But they also do it because the alternative, how many cars would they have to keep on the lot if everyone, just cherry picked a couple of options? Do you see yourself going in that way? With sort of standard feature bundles and then some additional things you can add on?
I see us maintaining the a la carte approach for the most part. Where it makes sense to bundle things together. Like I did when we have it kind of a la carte and there's a package. So I kind of offer both, and it's more for people who get options paralysis when they get into it. So it's, I'll say, here's the full package on solar with lithium. Right, you get the two solar, depending on the trailer, but you get the two solar panels, two batteries.
Just check the box and write the check.
Have it all, type thing. Don't even think about it. This all really works well together. You probably want all of this, and then you can go a la carte as well. So it's a real. We actually just did a Q&A where we talked exactly about this, where I said there's besides what's in the current options list that you see on the website, there's another 50.
Yeah,
so depending on the trailer,
the secret list,
the Easter egg list, right? The secret list, and I've just gone through the secret list because I have a new build your trailer tool that we have built now. We're kind of in the validation phase of it, and I'm like, oh gosh, we got to add all these in, and I'm really worried that people are just going to get overload.
Oh, you see it already on the Facebook page.
Yeah. So I'm thinking of having. Easy, quick select options packages that people can go.
So recommended packages, and then
makes sense when you put them all together.
It makes sense to have together. Yeah.
We find that people like to bundle these together. On the other hand, if you want to go line by line, you can do that too.
And one, I think examples are like on this on the bench seat that we're in here in the 21NE. So people like to split the bench seat or split the bench at the back I'm sorry, it's a U-shaped dinette. Like to split the U at the rear, because it's easier to get access into the storage compartment. But it makes total sense. Then if we're going to split the bench, you're going to split the cushions too. So that's what I'm thinking. Put that thing together as a package and go from there.
Accessibility package.
Yeah.
I think that the risk of, if not option paralysis, option discomfort. People like to feel confident and in charge and successful, and staring at a list and scratching your head and wondering if I've got it right is not an empowering feeling. It's not a great way to feel.
But don't want to. Yeah, I'm very worried about it feeling so complex that people feel like they can't move forwards. But
I think the approach you're describing of recommended or frequently chosen packages that hang together would solve the problem for a lot of people.
Percentage of the time this is chosen type idea.
Well, also the more people who do it, the better the economics are for you, because your staff are doing the same package over and over again. And
they're pretty, and they kind of do. Yeah, what's really good is we have the production line is quite flexible. It's very unique in terms of its flexibility from a customization perspective. I kind of, the last time I saw something like this was when I was working with Kenworth then in the Seattle area there. And it was one of their custom line that they had. And you know what truckers are like, right? Truckers all want everything. They're very much a built for you group as well, right? The truckers, they want the bling, they want the chrome, they want this, that, the other. So Kenworth would have quite a range of customization on their vehicles. And that's sort of like going to treat the Escape in exactly the same way as we have. So it'll be pretty good. But that's the reason for everybody is we will never go away from the Lindas, Joldies, and Melissas of the world, because from you didn't get to work with them, but from a configuration perspective, they are golden, and they're the ones they're your confidant that you work with to go, did I get this right?
I hope you have a wise retention strategy.
They love the smiles.
Because I can see exactly
they love the smiles too.
Can I also, can we ask for a potential enhancement that wouldn't cost Escape anything?
Go for it.
Here, I've got it behind me.
You don't ask, you don't get.
Look, there it is. Here's the light.
Oh dear.
The reason I raise this is a lot of the people who buy Escapes want to tweak it and customize it themselves.
Yeah.
And often you want to put in a fan or a 12-volt accessory. And this is a case where your quality standards actually create some negative side effects, not negative side effects, because you've secured the cable. And when you had the cabinetry open, you stapled it or whatever you did. But it means if you're trying to tap into that with connectors to pull a 12-volt wire for a fan, it should be 30 seconds, and it turns it into 3 hours by the time I messed it up a couple of times. So here's the enhancement. If code allows it, make it a 6-inch pigtail, 6-inch lead or a 7-inch lead, not a 3-inch lead, because then somebody can get in there and do their crimp connectors and put their fan in like the one that I did, but they'll be able to do it in 30 minutes.
Got that in. Somebody else's, I don't know if it was you, Treat, that put that to me originally, but someone else put that to me as well. And I already put that in our change request system here with Will and Dustin. It's like, okay, we need to leave a little bit more to 12-volt wiring leads.
I know the cost of copper is high, but literally it's really free, and at least for some of us there will be value added, or at least it eliminates an irritant, because so many Escape owners are, well, when you look on the Facebook page and on the forum, you think everyone is a tinkerer, because everybody's doing something. They're not only built for you, you're customized, you're doing your home, you're rolling your own.
Built for you to play with, built for you to modify.
Yeah, exactly. Well, if you look at the frequency, I don't think, if you looked at one of the big manufacturers, how many people are actually opening up the guts? I don't think so. Where it seems like 2/3 of people who get an Escape are, have the insides open to do one customization or
Well,
another.
I always liken this to Jeep owners, like as in Jeep Wrangler sort of owners. It's like you buy the vehicle with the intention that you're probably going to start playing with it and modifying it.
Can I get a winch on the back?
a Warren winch would be the right job. Listen, guys,
this is
Deb's poking me.
No, that another thing with regard to customization is making it easier to customize that top step, which looks like it's going to be reasonably difficult.
Yeah, you want to turn that into a cupboard space behind. I have the guys working on that one too. Anything else for us?
Let me see. Let's go. I want to take the camera and look down, open up the toilet and look down in the holding tank. No.
And we edited that part out. We're back again.
Yeah, really.
I don't know whether that. I imagine the tolerances are pretty similar. I know when we've gone to design things for the drawers and that, I appreciate your arm length measurements, but knowing the exact measurements of the
cabinetry
drawers and the cabinetry, that saves you a lot of time if you actually know it.
Yeah.
Particularly when we thought we had to wait a year and a half, we had a lot of time to plan.
Yeah, or even like I know now that because of the curvature, you can get something and you think it'll fit here, but it won't fit as you go down. Yeah. But so now we've solved that. But I just Treat custom make everything.
Brilliant.
And that works well for me.
Gives me something to do.
That's a good idea. I like that idea. I know we've had, just the sales girls, the configuration ladies have been asking for all the volumes or the sizes of all the different openings and the interior volumes, and then what's in the way, the usable space, right?
Another similarity with sailing, and it appears to me, sailing appeals to engineers. Because, it's like a differential equation. It's aerodynamics. And there's a lot of strings to pull on and things to do. And a lot of people on the forum certainly seem to have, there are many whose lives have not been wrapped up in technology, but there are a lot of engineering sort of people, even if they're not engineers, who appreciate detail. But,
we've got a lot of good hints from
the forum.
A lot of very strong technical people.
Yeah.
You don't have to be an engineer to be very strong technically, or to have. Just the engineer. It just means we've kind of gone to school and done some of that base math work, or we got through the math, if you like, and then got into something afterwards that did it. But I'm in my mentor in the last company I was with, Brian Johnson. Brian Johnson, he was brilliant engineer, but not an engineer. We didn't get him 1 year UBC, and then finished up and went off fishing. And this guy was the smartest, the best businessman, the wonderfully capable, the technical guy. And in my perspective, I would say he's an engineer. He's a better engineer than I am at that point. Right. So the forum is full of lots of very technical, very capable folks. And, I do go to the forum. I don't comment on the forum, but I do go and read the forum from time to time. Not always in there though. So it's my key thing. Listen, guys, this has been wonderful. I do need to say thank you very much to you. I know we had technical challenges the first time around on this, but you've resolved all of that. It's been a wonderful discussion. I very much enjoyed it. Hopefully we'll get to meet you when you come out.
Watch out. Is that an invitation?
Right. Well, you'll be driving past us. You can only run well. You could go north through Lillooet. You might. Right.
Pandemic allowing. And fires allowing. We've got Chilliwack on our itinerary for September.
Excellent. Well, we look forward to seeing you. Again, thanks everybody. This is Treat Deb with myself, Samuel, and Karl here. We're Escape Trailer, and we're
built for you.